Have you ever stood in front of the mirror, looked yourself in the eye, and said, "I am confident"? You repeat it like a mantra. You try to believe it. But deep down, a voice whispers, "No, you're not." That whisper, that quiet doubt, is what separates real confidence from the act we put on. You see, most of us try to appear confident. We dress up, we speak louder, we force a smile, we pretend. But when things fall apart, when someone insults us, when we fail, when we're alone, that illusion fades fast. The mask slips, and we're left with the truth. We never built the foundation. So how do we build a confidence that doesn't collapse the moment life gets messy? Picture this: a violent storm, wind howling, trees bent like paper, rain slashing sideways. In the middle of it all, one person stands still, calm, focused, steady. They're not the loudest, not the strongest, but they're the most unshakable. That kind of inner stability, it's not flashy. It doesn't shout, but it holds its ground. No storm can shake it, because it's not built on sand. It's built on self-mastery. And that, my friend, is what real confidence looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, not ego-driven, but deep, grounded, and immovable. What if I told you this kind of unshakable confidence has been studied, lived, and taught for over 2,000 years? The ancient Stoics, people like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, weren't just philosophers. They were warriors, emperors, exiles, survivors. They faced war, betrayal, disease, and death, and yet, they found peace, clarity, and strength within themselves. They didn't teach people to fake confidence. They taught them to forge it, through discipline, wisdom, and action. And today, we're going to learn how to do exactly that. Let's face it, today's world teaches us to chase attention. We're told that confidence means being louder, bolder, more visible. Social media rewards the loudest voice in the room, not the wisest. We're constantly pushed to compare, compete, and level up. But what if that kind of confidence isn't real? What if true confidence isn't about being seen, but about being centered? The Stoics believed that everything begins in the mind. That your emotions, your fears, your thoughts, they're not you. They're passing clouds. And your job isn't to chase or fight them. Your job is to observe, understand, and respond with purpose. Think about that for a moment. If you could respond, not react, to whatever life throws at you, wouldn't you feel unstoppable? The truth is, confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you train, day by day, choice by choice. Just like a warrior trains with a sword, you train with your thoughts. Just like an athlete disciplines the body, you discipline the mind. And Stoicism? It's the ultimate gym for your inner world. This video is not just another feel-good motivational talk. It's a practical, no-fluff guide to building confidence that can withstand real life. We're going to walk through 10 timeless Stoic principles, each one a step toward unshakable inner strength. We'll explore how to control what you can, and let go of what you can't, why emotions aren't the enemy, and how to stop letting them rule your actions. The power of living with intention, not impulse. How to stop seeking approval and start trusting your own judgment. What it means to live with virtue, and why that's the foundation of real self-respect. These aren't abstract ideas. They're practical tools you can use starting today. Because the more you train your mind to live with clarity, the more naturally confidence flows. Not the kind of confidence that depends on status, looks, or likes, but the kind that says, "I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And I'm not easily shaken." Now, I want you to take a second. Close your eyes, if you can, and ask yourself, what would your life look like if you felt deeply grounded? What if criticism didn't sting as much? What if failure didn't scare you? What if every morning, you woke up knowing exactly who you were, what you believed in, and how you wanted to live? That's what the Stoics offer. A blueprint for building confidence from the inside out. A way to stop performing and start becoming. I'll be honest, this isn't a quick fix. You won't walk away from this video a new person, but you will walk away with new tools, new clarity, and a clear direction. And if you apply these lessons, not once, but daily, you'll start to feel something shift. Not in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. So if you've ever felt like confidence was something only other people had, if you've ever felt like no matter how hard you try, you always second guess yourself, if you're tired of putting on a mask, and you're ready to build something real, This is your moment. Take a breath, get still, and prepare to rebuild your foundation, one lesson at a time. Now, let's begin with the first principle of Stoic confidence. Focus only on what you can control, because the moment you stop wasting energy on what you can't change is the moment you start reclaiming your power. Let's get one thing straight. Confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about having the best job title, the fanciest clothes, or the most followers on Instagram. It's not even about how many achievements you can list on your resume. Real confidence, the kind that sticks around when no one is clapping for you, comes from something far deeper. It comes from knowing yourself, and more importantly, from accepting yourself. Most people get this wrong. They think confidence is something you earn once you become successful. But let me ask you this. How many people do you know who look successful on the outside, but are crumbling on the inside? How many people hide behind designer clothes and big smiles, only to go home and feel empty? That's because surface success is just that, surface. It looks shiny, it makes noise, but it can't fill the void within. If your self-worth depends on applause, then the moment the clapping stops, your confidence disappears. The Stoics understood this long before social media ever existed. Epictetus, once a slave, later one of the most respected philosophers of his time, said something powerful. No man is free who is not master of himself. Think about that. He didn't say freedom comes from riches. He didn't say you become free when people admire you. He said freedom, and by extension, real confidence, comes from mastery of the self. That means knowing your values, being honest with yourself, recognizing your flaws without shame, and understanding your strengths without arrogance. Here's the problem. We live in a world that trains us to do the opposite. From the time we're young, we're rewarded for performance. Smile, get a cookie, win the prize, get the praise, get good grades, get approval. So we learn to chase validation. We learn to measure our worth by how others see us. And over time, that becomes exhausting, because no matter how well you perform, someone will always expect more. And no matter how much you achieve, it's never enough if you don't feel enough inside. So how do we change that? How do we stop chasing and start grounding? The answer is simple, but not easy. We turn inward. We practice self-reflection. We get quiet, and we start asking the real questions. Who am I when no one's watching? What do I believe in? What are my weaknesses, and can I face them without judgment? What matters to me more than applause? These aren't easy questions. They take time. They take courage. But every time you answer one of them truthfully, you get a little closer to the real you. And that's where confidence is born, not in perfection, but in self-awareness. You see, self-reflection is like holding up a mirror, not the kind that shows your face, but the one that shows your soul. At first, it can be uncomfortable. You might see parts of yourself you've ignored for years. But as the Stoics remind us, the only way to master your mind is to first understand it. Confidence grows when you know where you stand, and choose to stand there anyway. It's not about pretending to be flawless. It's about saying, I see my flaws, and I still choose to value myself. That kind of inner acceptance? That's unshakable, because no one can take it from you. It doesn't rely on compliments. It doesn't vanish with criticism. It's built on something no one else can control, your relationship with yourself. Let me give you an image. Imagine a mountain. It doesn't move for the wind. It doesn't chase the clouds. It just stands, firm, grounded, and whole. That's the kind of confidence we're talking about here. Not noisy, not desperate for attention, but still, centered, whole. Now here's something important. True confidence doesn't mean you never feel insecure. It means you don't let insecurity control you. When you're grounded in self-awareness, doubt may knock on your door, but you don't have to invite it in. You recognize it, you nod, and you keep moving. That's what the Stoics did. That's what you can do too. But let's be real, it takes practice. Self-reflection isn't something you do once. It's something you live, and it's not always easy. Sometimes it hurts, but the more you do it, the stronger you become, because every honest insight you gain is another brick in your foundation. And brick by brick, you build a self that stands, no matter what shakes around you. And when you reach that place, when you stop needing praise to feel worthy, when you stop crumbling at the first sign of rejection, when you stop outsourcing your identity to the opinions of others, that's when you become free. Free to be honest, free to be imperfect, free to be you. And that, right there, is the beginning of real, unshakable confidence. So if you've ever struggled to feel good enough, if you've ever relied too much on others' approval, if you've ever wondered why you still feel insecure, even when things look good on the outside, maybe it's time to look inward. Not to judge, not to fix, but to understand, to accept, to know. Because confidence doesn't come from becoming someone else. It comes from finally making peace with who you already are. And now, as we move forward, we'll explore the next key to building that inner strength. Learning to control only what you can control and letting go of the rest. It's a principle that sounds simple, but once you truly grasp it, it can transform everything about how you live, how you feel, and how you walk through the world. Let's dive into it. Let's imagine this. You walk into a room full of people. Some are talking loudly, some are silently judging, some seem like they have it all figured out. You smile, straighten your shoulders, and remind yourself, just be confident. But then someone criticizes your opinion. Another raises an eyebrow at your outfit. A third laughs at something you said. Suddenly, your confidence starts to slip. Why? Because deep down, you weren't standing on solid ground. You were trying to be likable, acceptable, impressive, but you weren't fully anchored in your own values. And when you're not anchored, the waves of other people's opinions can toss you in every direction. That's why this second lesson is so crucial. Real confidence comes from living in alignment with your personal beliefs. Let's break that down. Confidence doesn't mean you always feel good about yourself. It means you know who you are, and you live in a way that honors that truth. You don't say things just to please others. You don't pretend to believe what you don't. You don't follow trends just to fit in. You stay true to you. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." It sounds simple, but it takes real courage. Because the world is always trying to tell you who you should be. Parents, teachers, bosses, influencers, they all have a version of you they prefer. But if you spend your life adjusting to make them happy, you lose the one person you need to trust most, yourself. So, how do you live according to your own beliefs? It starts with asking the big questions. What do I value most? What kind of person do I want to be? What principles do I refuse to compromise on? What matters to me, even if no one else understands? When you're clear on your values, decisions become easier. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You don't need applause. Because your actions are aligned with something deeper, your truth. Let me give you a picture. Think of a tree. It grows tall not because it reaches for the sky, but because it digs deep into the earth. Its roots keep it steady when the wind blows, the rain falls, or people carve their names into its bark. That's you, when you live by your values. You might be shaken, you might be challenged, but you don't fall, because your roots run deep. Living your truth also makes you immune to manipulation. When someone tries to guilt you, you stay calm. When someone mocks your choices, you stay grounded. Because you're not acting for their approval, you're acting from your own convictions. And that's powerful. When you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I lived today the way I believe I should. You sleep well, no matter what others think. But let's be real, it's not always easy. There are days when doubt creeps in, when people question you, when you feel alone in your values. That's where practice comes in. And one of the most powerful practices the Stoics used, especially Marcus Aurelius, was journaling. Journaling isn't just writing your thoughts. It's an act of recentering. It's where you remind yourself of who you are, where you sort through what happened during the day, what went well, what didn't, how you reacted, and how you want to improve tomorrow. It's where you reconnect with your principles. You ask yourself, did I live honestly today? Did I speak with integrity? Did I act with courage? Over time, this habit becomes your anchor. You stop floating through life. You start living on purpose. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need huge moments to prove your confidence. You don't need to give a TED talk or start a movement. You just need to take small, daily actions that reflect your beliefs. One honest conversation. One choice to say no when it would have been easier to say yes. One moment where you choose to pause and reflect, instead of reacting in fear. These small actions, they add up. They build a kind of confidence that can't be faked. Because it's earned. People will notice it, too. They may not always agree with you, but they'll feel something real in the way you carry yourself. A quiet certainty, a calm presence. The kind of strength that doesn't need to be loud. Because when you live according to your personal beliefs, you don't just walk differently, you walk lighter. You walk clearer. You walk free. And if you stumble, that's okay. Even Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, wrote in his private journal about his own doubts and frustrations. But the point isn't to be perfect. It's to be intentional. Every day is another chance to come back to your values, to course correct, to realign, to build confidence not from perfection, but from consistency. So here's the takeaway. If you want to build real, lasting confidence, don't look outside for approval. Look inside for alignment. Know your values. Live by them. Write about them. Reflect on them. Act on them, especially when it's inconvenient. And when you do, you'll stop needing permission to feel worthy. You'll stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You'll stop questioning your own voice. Because your confidence will no longer be conditional. It will be grounded in who you are. Up next, we'll explore how to train that inner voice even further by learning to recognize what's in your control and letting go of what isn't. Because sometimes, confidence isn't about doing more. It's about learning what not to carry anymore. Let's keep going. 3. Focus on what truly matters. Let's talk about distractions. Not the obvious ones, like someone talking during a movie, or your phone buzzing in the middle of a conversation. I'm talking about the silent distractions. The ones that slowly chip away at your time, your peace, and your sense of self. The kind that sneak into your day, disguised as normal life. Scrolling endlessly through social media. Obsessing over your appearance. Chasing likes. Chasing status. Chasing approval. Checking your phone first thing in the morning, and the last thing before bed. If you've ever felt drained, unfocused, or like your life is moving fast but going nowhere, there's a reason. You're spending too much of your energy on things that don't matter. That's why this third lesson from Stoicism is a game changer. Confidence grows when you focus on what truly matters and ignore what doesn't. Sounds simple, right? But in a world designed to distract you, clarity is rare. We're constantly pulled in different directions. Work, notifications, social pressure, digital noise. And in the middle of all this chaos, we wonder why we feel anxious, unmotivated, or unsure of ourselves. Here's the truth. You can't feel confident when your attention is scattered. Because confidence requires clarity. And clarity only comes when you choose what gets your energy and what doesn't. Epictetus put it beautifully. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Think about that. He didn't say you need more to feel secure. He said you need less. Less craving, less chasing, less clutter in your mind and your life. True confidence doesn't come from owning more, it comes from needing less. So how do you apply this? You start by asking a very simple, very powerful question. Is this necessary? This one question can change your life. You're about to scroll Instagram for the 10th time today. Ask, is this necessary? You're about to say yes to another social event that drains you. Ask, is this necessary? You're about to buy something to impress people you don't even like. Ask, is this necessary? Most of the time, the answer is no. The Stoics weren't minimalists in the modern design sense, but they were fierce protectors of their time and energy. Seneca, one of the wisest Stoics, said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Let that sink in. We say we don't have time, but maybe it's not about how much time we have, it's about what we're doing with it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine your energy is a flame. Every time you worry about something trivial, how many people liked your post? What someone thinks about your shoes? Whether your vacation looks good on camera? You hand a little bit of your fire to the wind. And slowly, you start to dim. Not because you're weak, but because you gave away your power. One distraction at a time. Confidence, then, is not just about building yourself up. It's about protecting what already burns inside you. And how do you protect that flame? You guard your attention. You make hard choices. You say no to things that don't align with your purpose, even when they're tempting, popular, or normal. You remind yourself that your life is yours, and that your energy is limited. Every yes is a no to something else. So you get intentional. You prioritize. You decide what matters most, and you start cutting out the rest. Here's a tip straight from the Stoic playbook. At the start of each day, or at the end of it, take 5 quiet minutes. Sit down with a notebook or even just your thoughts. Ask yourself, what did I give my attention to today? Was it worth it? What can I stop doing tomorrow? What do I want to do more of? This simple practice doesn't just clear your mind. It sharpens your focus. It reminds you that you are in charge of your day, not your phone, not your boss, not your followers. And here's something powerful. When you focus on what truly matters, your confidence naturally rises. Why? Because you stop wasting time trying to impress everyone. You stop trying to be everything for everyone. You start showing up fully for what you value. Your relationships, your purpose, your growth. And in that space, you become more centered, more clear, more alive. Let me give you a real-world example. Think of someone you truly admire, not for their fame, but for their presence. Maybe a teacher, a coach, a parent, a friend. The reason they seem confident isn't because they have all the answers. It's because they know what matters, and they live by it. You can feel it in how they speak, how they move, how they don't chase approval. They're not distracted by every little thing, because they've already decided what's worth their time. That's what Stoic confidence looks like. So, where do you begin? You begin by reclaiming your attention, by getting honest about what's essential and what's just noise, by asking, again and again, is this necessary? Because when you stop feeding distractions, something beautiful happens. Your mind clears, your energy rises, and your confidence, the real kind, comes alive. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally doing less, better. 4. The practice of daily self-reflection. Let's pause for a moment. Forget the noise. Forget the expectations. Forget what others think of you. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you truly checked in with you? Not your schedule, not your to-do list, but you, your thoughts, your behavior, your inner compass. This is where the fourth Stoic lesson comes into play. Confidence that lasts is built through the daily practice of self-reflection. We often think of confidence as a performance. We imagine a confident person as someone who walks boldly, speaks clearly, and never seems to doubt themselves. But real confidence doesn't begin on the outside. It begins in the dark, when no one's watching. It grows in those quiet moments at the end of the day when you ask yourself, did I live today the way I wanted to? Seneca, the wise Roman Stoic, made this a habit. He advised people to end each day with a simple but powerful question. What bad habit did I overcome today? This wasn't about shame or guilt. It was about clarity, about becoming more aware, bit by bit, day by day. Because if you don't stop to reflect, how will you ever adjust? If you never look back, how will you know if you're moving forward? Self-reflection isn't about beating yourself up. It's about learning. It's about taking ownership of your actions, your words, your thoughts, without fear or excuses. It's where growth begins. Let me put it this way. You wouldn't drive a car every day without ever checking the fuel, the tires, or the engine, right? So why do we live each day without checking in on our mind? The Stoics believed in checking in regularly. They didn't wait for a crisis to examine their lives. They built the habit of reflection into their daily routine, like brushing their teeth or sharpening a sword. Because they knew that self-awareness isn't a luxury. It's a discipline. Here's how it works. At the end of the day, you pause, you breathe, you ask yourself a few simple questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short of my values? Did I let fear guide my decisions? Did I stay focused on what I could control? What can I do differently tomorrow? You don't need to write a novel. You just need to be honest. That honesty, that raw clarity, is where confidence is born. Because when you know yourself deeply, you don't fear judgment from others. You've already seen your shadows, and you're working on them. Let's talk about journaling. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, didn't write his journal to publish a book. He wrote it to train his mind, to stay centered, to reflect on who he was and who he wanted to become. He wrote about his fears, his responsibilities, his mistakes. He reminded himself of his values. He prepared his mind for the battles of the next day, internal and external. His journal wasn't polished. It was raw, real, and yet, it helped him stay grounded in the middle of war, betrayal, and chaos. You can do the same. Grab a notebook. Write a few sentences each evening. Don't worry about grammar or style. Just be truthful. What made you proud today? What triggered your anger, your anxiety, your envy? What part of your behavior felt misaligned with your values? Over time, these pages become more than notes. They become a mirror, a map, a record of your inner growth. And the benefits? They're enormous. First, you gain clarity. You start seeing patterns, good and bad. You recognize which people, environments, or habits bring out the best, or worst, in you. Second, you improve emotional regulation. Instead of reacting impulsively, you reflect intentionally. You begin to pause more and lash out less. You learn to choose your response instead of being ruled by your moods. Third, you build trust with yourself. When you review your actions daily, you start holding yourself accountable, not out of fear, but out of respect. And that's the foundation of real self-confidence. Let's be honest though, it's easy to skip this practice. Life gets busy. You're tired. It feels easier to scroll or binge watch than to sit with your thoughts. But let me ask you, what's 5 minutes of reflection compared to a lifetime of clarity? What's one page in a journal compared to years of emotional freedom? The truth is, reflection doesn't take much time, but it gives you back so much. It helps you forgive yourself. It helps you course correct. It helps you remember who you are and who you're becoming. And maybe most importantly, it helps you stop running from yourself. Because when you face yourself honestly, something powerful happens. You stop fearing your flaws. You start owning your growth. And that's where real, unshakable confidence begins to bloom. So tonight, before you close your eyes, try this. Take 5 minutes. Sit in stillness. Ask yourself, what did I do today that honored my values? What can I learn from the moments I fell short? What intention do I want to carry into tomorrow? Write it down. 1 sentence, 2, maybe more. Whatever feels real. Do it again tomorrow, and the day after that. And watch how you begin to feel lighter, stronger, clearer. Because reflection isn't about being perfect. It's about paying attention. It's about choosing awareness over autopilot. And every time you do, your confidence grows, not from outside praise, but from inner alignment. You begin to walk through life with a quiet, steady presence, not because you've figured it all out, but because you're finally listening to yourself. And that is the kind of confidence no one can shake. Coming up next, we'll explore how aligning your actions with your purpose, living intentionally, turns clarity into momentum. Because reflection is only the first step. What you do with that insight, that's where real transformation begins. Let's keep moving. 5. Building resilience. The power to rise again. Let's face it, life doesn't always go as planned. You fail the interview. You lose the deal. You get ghosted. You feel like you gave it your all, and still fell flat on your face. In those moments, the voice in your head gets loud. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'll never make it. Why'd I even try? We've all been there. The fall hurts. But what matters most isn't the fall, it's what happens next. Because confidence isn't about never falling. It's about knowing you can get back up. This brings us to the 5th Stoic lesson. True confidence is rooted in resilience, the ability to recover, adapt, and grow stronger through adversity. It's easy to feel confident when everything's going well, when the plan works, when the wins stack up, when people applaud. But what happens when life turns against you? That's the real test. And the Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus, who began life as a slave and endured suffering most of us can't imagine, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that. You don't always choose what life throws at you, but you do choose how you respond. And that choice? That's where your power lives. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled during plagues and wars, echoed this wisdom in one of his most famous lines. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacle is the path. The thing you're trying to avoid might actually be the thing that transforms you. It's a radical shift in mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of shrinking under failure, you stand up and say, "This is hard, but I can grow from it." Instead of running from discomfort, you build the muscle to face it head on. Let's imagine this. You're climbing a steep mountain. Halfway up, it starts to rain. The path gets slippery. You fall. It hurts. Your knees are scraped. You feel like giving up. But then you realize something. This climb was never meant to be easy. It was meant to test you, to train you, to teach you how to keep going even when conditions aren't perfect. That's resilience. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy, but it's what makes your confidence real. So, how do you build resilience? The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, which means premeditation of evils. They would imagine the worst-case scenario before it happened, not to live in fear but to be prepared, to train their minds to stay calm, no matter what came their way. They'd ask themselves, what if I lost everything tomorrow? Could I handle it? What if this plan fails? How would I respond? What if people reject me, insult me, ignore me? Could I stay grounded? By confronting fear ahead of time, they took away its power. And when bad things did happen, they weren't shocked. They were ready. This doesn't mean you become cold or emotionless. It means you become mentally strong. You build emotional flexibility. You learn to bend, not break. And that takes practice. Every time you bounce back from a setback, no matter how small, you're training your resilience. You're teaching your nervous system, we've been here before. We survived. We learned. We grew. And next time, you'll bounce back faster. Here's the key. Resilience isn't just about endurance, it's about emotional regulation. When something goes wrong, the first wave is emotional. Anger, shame, panic, frustration. It's normal. It's human. But what you do with those emotions, that's where Stoicism steps in. You pause. You breathe. You reflect. You ask, what part of this is in my control? What can I learn from this moment? How can I grow stronger from this? This pause between stimulus and response is where confidence lives. It's the space where you reclaim your power. Now, let's get practical. How can you strengthen your resilience starting today? 1. Journal about your setbacks. Just like Marcus Aurelius, use your journal not just for reflection, but for recovery. Write about what happened, how you felt, how you responded, what you did differently next time. 2. Practice reframing. Turn, I failed, into, I learned. Turn, this hurts, into, this will pass. Turn, I can't do this, into, I haven't mastered this yet. 3. Build daily challenges. Do small hard things on purpose. Wake up early. Take a cold shower. Speak your mind. Say no when it's hard. Each challenge adds to your mental toughness. 4. Stay positive but not delusional. Being stoic doesn't mean denying pain. It means choosing to believe that pain can serve a purpose. That even suffering can become strength if you let it. And over time, here's what happens. You stop fearing failure. You stop avoiding discomfort. You stop doubting your ability to come back stronger. Because now, you know, you've been through worse. And every scar is proof that you didn't break. You grew. That kind of self-trust? That's what long-term confidence is made of. So the next time life knocks you down, and it will, remember this. You don't have to rise perfectly. You just have to rise. And every time you do, your confidence deepens, not in your ability to succeed every time, but in your ability to keep showing up. And that is everything. Coming up next, we'll explore how taking consistent, intentional action, even in small steps, fuels confidence from the inside out. Because resilience gives you strength, but action gives you momentum. Let's keep going. 6. Cultivating curiosity and lifelong learning. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a room where everyone acted like they already knew everything? There's no energy, no excitement. Just a bunch of closed minds pretending they've got life all figured out. Now contrast that with someone who walks into a room with bright eyes. Asking questions, genuinely eager to learn, not to prove themselves, but to grow. Which person do you trust more? Ironically, it's the second, the one who doesn't pretend to have all the answers. Because that person is grounded, open, and growing. And that's what this 6th Stoic lesson is all about. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing that you'll always keep learning. We often mistake certainty for strength. We think the more we know, the more confident we'll feel. So we try to appear smart. We fear being wrong. We avoid saying, I don't know. But here's the truth. Real confidence has nothing to prove. It doesn't need to be right all the time. It just needs to be honest and curious. Epictetus, who spent much of his life as both a student and a teacher, said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." That one sentence should be framed and hung on every wall. Because the moment you think you've got it all figured out, you stop listening, you stop asking questions, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, your confidence becomes fragile. Because it's built on the illusion of already knowing, instead of the strength of always learning. Let's be clear, curiosity is not weakness. It's power. Why? Because curiosity opens the door to new ideas, better habits, deeper understanding. It turns fear into fascination. It transforms obstacles into questions worth exploring. Instead of thinking, I'm not good at this, you ask, how can I get better at this? Instead of avoiding feedback, you seek it. Instead of defending your position at all costs, you remain open, willing to be challenged, refined, even change. Seneca said, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. He didn't say, learn once and then you're done. He said keep learning, because life keeps evolving. And if you're not adapting, you're falling behind, not just in knowledge, but in mindset. Let's bring this to real life. Think about the last time you felt insecure. Maybe you were in a conversation where someone used words you didn't understand. Or a job interview where you didn't know the answer. Or a moment when someone corrected you, and it stung. The ego wants to defend. It wants to say, yeah, I knew that. Or worse, pretend to be right. Even when we're not. But what if, in that moment, you leaned into curiosity instead of shame? What if you said, interesting, I didn't know that. Tell me more. That's confidence. That's security. That's someone who doesn't fear being a student. And that's exactly what the Stoics were, lifelong students of life. They read, they wrote, they reflected, they debated ideas not to win, but to understand. They welcomed criticism, because it sharpened them. To them, every day was a classroom. And every person, every failure, every question, was a teacher. Here's something practical you can do. Start a curiosity journal. Each day, write down one thing you learned, one idea that challenged your beliefs, one question you don't have the answer to yet. Over time, this simple practice rewires your brain. You stop trying to look smart and start becoming wise. You shift from performance mode to growth mode. And you'll notice something. The more you learn, the calmer you become. Not because you've figured everything out, but because you trust yourself to keep growing. Curiosity also helps with one of the most common killers of confidence, fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of failure. Fear of looking dumb. But here's the thing. When you're curious, fear turns into fuel. Instead of avoiding the unknown, you get interested in it. You lean in. You ask, what's behind this? What could I gain if I explore this? And suddenly, the thing that scared you becomes the thing that shapes you. That's the magic of a curious mind. Let's go even deeper. Curiosity also helps you deal with people who disagree with you. Instead of getting defensive, you get inquisitive. Instead of shutting down, you open up. You might still hold your ground, but now it's thoughtful, not reactive. And that changes everything. Because the most confident people aren't the ones who shout the loudest. They're the ones who ask the best questions. So here's your invitation. For the next 7 days, try this simple rule. When you feel unsure, insecure, or challenged, ask one more question. Not a sarcastic one, a real one, something that helps you learn. You'll be surprised at how powerful it feels. Not to know everything, but to want to know more. That's where the growth is. That's where the calm is. That's where your confidence comes alive. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't cling to being right. Confidence listens. Confidence learns. Confidence adapts. And the more you nurture curiosity, the more that kind of confidence becomes second nature. So remember, the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. Take a breath, and ask instead, what can I learn here? Because the people who are most secure in themselves, they never stop being students. Coming up next, we'll explore how connecting with something greater than yourself, through purpose and service, can give your confidence deeper roots. Because learning shapes you, but living with meaning sustains you. Let's keep going. 7. Practicing mindfulness. The confidence of being present. Let's be honest. How often are you truly here? Not thinking about what happened yesterday. Not worrying about what might go wrong tomorrow. But fully, completely, unapologetically present, right now? If you're like most of us, your mind is a constant time traveler. Jumping back to old regrets. Fast-forwarding to future anxieties. Rarely, if ever, settling into the one place you actually live, the present moment. But here's the truth. Confidence can't grow in the past. It doesn't live in the future. It only thrives in the present. And that's why the 7th Stoic lesson is so powerful. Mindfulness, the simple act of being fully present, is a gateway to clarity, calm, and and unshakable confidence. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, said it plainly. Confine yourself to the present. Not because the past doesn't matter. Not because the future isn't important. But because the only time you can act, choose, think, breathe, and live is now. Let me paint you a picture. You're walking through a forest. The trees are tall. The sunlight filters through the leaves. But your eyes are on your phone. Your mind is on a meeting next week. Your chest is tight from something someone said to you yesterday. You're in the forest, but you're not experiencing the forest. You're physically present, but mentally absent. And this isn't just a poetic idea, it's how most of us live. Going through motions without presence. Breathing without awareness. Working without purpose. Talking without listening. And slowly, quietly, our confidence erodes. Because when we're not present, we're not grounded. And when we're not grounded, we feel lost, even if everything looks fine from the outside. Seneca captured it perfectly. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. In other words, if your mind is scattered, your soul is too. And without an anchor in the now, even the strongest person drifts. So what does mindfulness have to do with confidence? Everything. Because when you're present, you stop catastrophizing about things that haven't happened. Stop replaying old mistakes on loop. Start paying attention to what is, not what was or might be. This mental shift reduces anxiety. It increases focus. It grounds you in what you can control, your breath, your thoughts, your choices in this very moment. And confidence grows from that clarity. Let's get practical. How do you begin practicing mindfulness, Stoic style? It starts with the breath. The Stoics didn't have meditation apps or digital detox retreats. But they did understand the power of slowing down, noticing the moment, and choosing presence over panic. Try this. Right now, take a slow, deep breath. In through the nose. Hold. Out through the mouth. Notice the shift? You're here. You're back. Not in the past. Not in the future. Now. You can also practice mindfulness in everyday activities. When walking, feel your feet on the ground. When eating, taste your food instead of rushing through it. When speaking, truly listen instead of planning your next reply. When thinking, ask, is this thought helpful right now? These small shifts build a big result, mental presence. And with presence comes peace. And with peace comes power. Another powerful Stoic tool for mindfulness? Intentional action. The Stoics didn't believe in drifting through life. They believed in deliberate living. In choosing your next move with awareness, not impulse. So instead of rushing through your day, ask yourself, what matters most right now? What's the next right action I can take? Am I doing this out of alignment, or out of habit? This isn't about perfection. It's about purpose. And living with purpose creates confidence, not loud, flashy confidence, but steady, quiet certainty. Here's one more key to Stoic mindfulness. Gratitude for the present. Most of our fear, comparison, and insecurity comes from imagining a better past or craving a different future. But when you stop and see what's right in front of you, your breath, your body, your freedom, this moment, you begin to feel whole. You stop needing more to feel worthy. You realize you're already enough. And in that realization, confidence quietly takes root. Let's not pretend this is easy. Your mind will wander. Your emotions will pull you into yesterday or tomorrow. That's normal. The key is to notice and return. Again and again. Return to the breath. Return to the task. Return to the moment. This returning is the practice. And with every return, you get stronger. Let me ask you, what would change if, just for today, you showed up 100% to each moment? Not 10 seconds ahead, not 5 years behind, but right here, with your full presence, your full focus, your full heart. That's what the Stoics practiced. Not some mystical meditation, but real-time, full-body engagement with now. So try this. In the morning, take 3 breaths before checking your phone. Before lunch, pause and name one thing you're grateful for. At night, review your day, not to judge, but to notice where you were present and where you drifted. With time, this awareness becomes a habit, a way of being, a foundation for everything you do. And when you build that habit, you'll start to notice something powerful. Your anxiety softens, your focus sharpens, your confidence deepens, not because life is easier, but because you're finally here for it. Coming up next, we'll explore how contributing to something bigger than yourself, through service, connection, and purpose, can give your confidence a deeper meaning. Because once you're fully present with yourself, the next step is being fully present with the world around you. Let's keep going. 8. Having a clear vision. Confidence through direction. Close your eyes for a second and ask yourself, where are you going? Not just today, not just this week, but in life. What are you aiming for? What matters to you? What kind of person do you want to become? If you hesitated for more than a few seconds, don't worry, you're not alone. Most people wake up each day and dive into action. They check emails, they rush to work, they scroll, reply, do, hustle, but they rarely stop to ask the one question that gives all of it meaning. Why? And that's the heart of this 8th Stoic lesson. Confidence comes not just from action, but from purposeful action. From knowing what you value, what you believe in, and where you're going. Without that clarity, you can be busy but lost, productive but empty, successful but still searching. Marcus Aurelius put it bluntly, a man who labors all his life but has no purpose to direct every thought and impulse wastes his time, even if he is busy. Read that again. Because in a world that worships hustle and movement, the Stoics challenge us to pause and ask, is all this effort moving me closer to what really matters? Seneca echoed this with his iconic line, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. It doesn't matter how fast your ship is if you don't know where it's going. You'll drift, you'll get pulled by other people's priorities. And one day, you'll look back and wonder, how did I get here? That's why purpose is essential. It's the compass for your decisions. It's the anchor when life gets messy. And most importantly, it's the fuel behind real, grounded confidence. Let me paint a picture. Imagine 2 hikers at the base of a mountain. One is climbing because everyone else is doing it. The other is climbing because there's a view at the top she's dreamed of for years. Same path, same sweat, but one is wandering, and one is driven. And that drive, that clarity, it creates a kind of confidence that doesn't fade with exhaustion. Because when you know why you're doing something, you're more likely to stay committed when it gets hard. So how do you find your why? How do you clarify your vision? The Stoics believed in reflecting deeply and regularly. Not just when things go wrong, but as a daily discipline. Here's a simple exercise they would approve of. Take time to visualize your ideal future. Not in a fantasy, law of attraction kind of way, but with grounded intention. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be 5 years from now? What values do I want to embody, no matter what happens? What kind of relationships, habits, and impact do I want to create? Write it down. Be honest. Be specific. Because when your vision is vague, your confidence will be, too. But when your vision is clear, your actions become sharper. Your decisions become easier. Your energy becomes more focused. This isn't about having a rigid, step-by-step life plan. It's about setting a direction, a North Star, a way to measure what matters and what doesn't. Because without that direction, everything can feel urgent. Every opportunity feels important. Every distraction feels valid. But with clarity, you begin to say, no, that's not aligned with who I'm becoming. Yes, this challenge scares me, but it fits my values. This path looks easy, but it's not mine. Another way to stay connected to your vision? Revisit it regularly. Once a week, set aside 10 quiet minutes to reflect. Am I living in alignment with my values? Are my goals still meaningful to me? Where have I drifted? What can I do this week to course correct? This isn't just a productivity hack. It's a confidence habit. Because every time you reconnect with your purpose, you reinforce the belief that your life has meaning, that your actions matter, that you are not just reacting, but choosing. And here's something powerful. When you live with vision, setbacks don't shake you as much. Why? Because they're not the end of your story. They're just one twist in the road to where you're going. When others criticize you, you don't panic, because you know your values. When things don't go as planned, you adapt, because you're clear on what matters most. That clarity is like armor. It doesn't make you invincible, but it keeps you grounded. Let me ask you something now. If I followed you around for a week, with no context, no explanation, and just watched how you spent your time, what would I think your values are? Would your actions match your words? Would your energy reflect a person who knows where they're headed? Or would I see someone who's moving, but not directed? There's no shame in drifting. We all do it sometimes. But the Stoics remind us, Drifting is a choice when clarity is available. So here's your challenge. Tonight, take out a notebook and answer these 3 questions. What do I stand for? No matter what? What kind of person do I want to be remembered as? What one action can I take tomorrow to live closer to that ideal? Write it, reflect on it, and repeat it often. Because clarity isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. And the more you practice it, the more you walk through life with intention. And that intention? That's where confidence finds its home. Up next, we'll look at how meaningful connections with the people around you, through empathy, service, and shared humanity, can amplify your confidence in a way no achievement ever could. Because once you know where you're going, the next question becomes, who will you walk with? Let's keep going. 9. Cultivating a positive mindset. Confidence from the inside out. Let's be real. Life can be tough. Sometimes it throws little annoyances, like traffic, delays, or harsh words. Other times, it drops heavy storms, loss, failure, rejection, fear. And in those moments, when things don't go your way, it's easy to fall into a spiral. Why does this always happen to me? Nothing ever works out. I'm not strong enough for this. But what if your confidence didn't depend on everything going right, but on your ability to think rightly? Because here's the Stoic truth. Confidence isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of a powerful mindset. That's what this 9th lesson is all about. A positive mindset isn't just feel-good fluff. It's a mental framework that builds real, resilient, grounded confidence. Marcus Aurelius said it best. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. It doesn't get more direct than that. It's not your circumstances. It's not your income. It's not even your reputation. It's your thoughts. How you choose to interpret the world. How you choose to speak to yourself, especially when life gets hard. Let's talk about that. Most of us think of positivity as this bubbly, cheerleader energy, smiling all the time, pretending everything is great. But that's not what the Stoics meant. To them, positive thinking was disciplined thinking. Not denying reality, but choosing how to respond to it with power, clarity, and presence. That's where a practice called reframing comes in. Reframing is the art of taking a negative thought or situation and looking at it through a different lens. Not to lie to yourself, but to liberate yourself. Let's say you fail at something. Your default mind says, I suck. I'm never going to get this right. But a Stoic mindset pauses and says, this is feedback. This is growth. What can I learn here? Same situation, different story. And that shift in narrative? That's the root of inner confidence. Because it means you're no longer a victim of your thoughts. You're the editor of them. Here's a practical example. You're working on a goal. It's going slowly. You catch yourself thinking, I'm so far behind. Other people are doing better than me. Now pause, breathe, reframe. Try this instead. I'm still in the game. I'm moving forward, and my path doesn't need to look like anyone else's. You see the difference? You've turned shame into self-compassion, pressure into perspective. And when you do this repeatedly, your brain starts to shift. Your emotional baseline changes. Your confidence becomes less about perfection and more about progress. But how do you train this mindset? 2 ancient tools, used by the Stoics, are surprisingly modern in their wisdom. Gratitude and acceptance. Let's start with gratitude. Most of us are wired to see what's missing, what we lack, what we haven't done yet. But the Stoics flipped the script. They practiced being intentionally grateful, not just when things went well, but especially when life was hard. Every morning, ask yourself, what do I have today that I once wished for? What blessings have I overlooked this week? Who or what am I grateful for? Even in struggle? You don't need a long list. Just a few honest moments. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you that life is never all bad. It helps you build a foundation of contentment, and from that, real confidence grows. Now let's talk about acceptance. Not giving up, not being passive, but accepting that life is unpredictable, and that suffering is part of the process. Not a punishment. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius both wrote about this constantly. They didn't say, avoid hardship. They said, expect it, accept it, learn from it. It's that acceptance that frees your mind from resistance and gives you the power to act with purpose. Let me give you an example. You're hit with unexpected bad news. You can't change it. It hurts. You feel heavy. Now, your untrained mind wants to say, this isn't fair. This ruins everything. But a Stoic mind whispers back, This is part of life. I'll feel it, I'll face it, and I'll grow through it. That shift doesn't erase the pain, but it empowers you. It turns chaos into clarity. It turns loss into learning. So how do you put all this into practice? Here's a simple 3-step routine you can do daily. 1. Morning reframe. Before you start the day, take one worry or negative belief and reframe it. Turn, "I'm overwhelmed," into, "I'm being stretched, and I'll grow stronger through this." 2. Midday gratitude check. At lunch, write down or mentally list 3 things you're grateful for. Even small ones: sunlight, clean water, a deep breath. This resets your nervous system and renews your energy. 3. Evening acceptance reflection. Before bed, ask, "What challenge did I face today? How did I handle it? What can I accept and release?" Instead of holding on? Over time, these tiny moments create a massive shift. Not just in how you feel, but in who you become. Because here's the big idea. Confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about being thoughtful. It's knowing your thoughts aren't always true, and choosing better ones anyway. It's learning to rewire your mind from panic to presence, from doubt to direction, from chaos to clarity. Let me leave you with this. Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing, deep down, no matter what happens today, I have the mindset to meet it. That's the kind of self-trust that doesn't fade. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't shake. And it all starts with how you think. Coming up next, we'll explore how embracing discomfort, not avoiding it, can actually be the fastest path to strength, discipline, and lasting self-belief. Because positivity gives you perspective, but discomfort? That's where the growth really begins. Let's keep going. 10. Self-leadership, the foundation of leading others. What comes to your mind when you hear the word leadership? Maybe a CEO at the top of a company. Maybe a politician giving a speech. Or maybe a coach rallying their team before the big game. But what if I told you that the most important kind of leadership starts in the mirror? Because before you can lead anyone else, you must first learn to lead yourself. And that's the final lesson the Stoics give us on building unshakable confidence. Real leadership begins with self-mastery. Epictetus said it plainly. No man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom and leadership, to the Stoics, were never about control over others. They were about control over your own mind, your thoughts, your impulses, your habits, your emotions. Because how can you expect others to follow you if you don't even know where you're going? How can you inspire trust if you can't even trust yourself to do what you say? Let's break it down. Self-leadership is about showing up consistently for your values. It's about doing the hard thing, especially when no one is watching. It's choosing discipline over distraction, purpose over popularity, integrity over ego. That's not always easy, but it's the foundation of true confidence. And no one modeled this better than Marcus Aurelius. He was the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, and yet, he led with humility, clarity, and calm. He didn't seek praise. He didn't rule with fear. He didn't hide his struggles. Instead, he reflected daily. He reminded himself that he was human. He practiced kindness, even under pressure. And he focused on serving, not shining. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, what kind of leader are you becoming? Not just in your job, but in your family, in your friendships, in your community, in your own mind. Are you the kind of person who leads with presence or with pride? With clarity or with chaos? With steadiness or with stress? Because the way you lead yourself, day after day, is exactly how you'll influence those around you. Here's the part most people forget. Leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about being in service. Seneca said it best. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. The Stoics didn't separate leadership from compassion. They believed the most powerful leaders were the most humane. The ones who listened, who understood, who lifted others without seeking attention. Leadership, in their eyes, wasn't about glory. It was about responsibility. And when you carry that responsibility with care, your confidence grows. Not the flashy kind, but the steady kind that says, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And I will act with integrity, no matter what. Let's talk about how to practice self-leadership. Here are 4 Stoic habits that will strengthen your ability to lead both yourself and others. 1. Pause before you act. When emotions rise, anger, pride, fear, train yourself to pause. Take a breath. Ask, Is this action aligned with who I want to be? This pause alone can change the entire direction of your day and your leadership. 2. Reflect daily. Just like Marcus Aurelius, spend 5 minutes each night asking, did I lead with integrity today? Did I let my ego get in the way? Where can I improve tomorrow? Self-awareness is the root of self-command. 3. Lead with purpose, not popularity. It's tempting to make decisions to impress others. But real leaders stay grounded in what's right, not just what's liked. Ask, what's the most meaningful choice here? Even if it's hard, even if it's lonely, that's leadership. 4. Serve before you speak. Before asking people to follow you, listen to them. Understand what they need. Support without expecting anything in return. Because the leader who listens deeply earns real respect. Now here's something powerful. When you practice this kind of leadership, you don't have to fake confidence. You embody it. Why? Because you're no longer performing. You're aligned. You're grounded. You're consistent. And people can feel that. They may not always agree with you, but they will trust you. Because they'll see that you trust yourself. So whether you're managing a team, raising a child, supporting a friend, or simply trying to navigate your own life, remember this: you are always leading. Someone is always watching. Someone is always learning from your example, especially you. Every choice you make teaches your mind. This is who I am. This is what I value. This is the kind of leader I choose to be. And those choices, repeated daily, create the foundation of the most powerful kind of confidence. Not the kind that commands, but the kind that inspires. Let's close with one final reflection. What would it look like for you to lead yourself fully, honestly, and courageously? Not waiting to feel confident, but choosing to act with integrity again and again. That's Stoic leadership. That's Stoic confidence. And it's available to you right now. Final thoughts. Over the past 10 lessons, we've walked the path the Stoics laid down more than 2,000 years ago. Not just a path to temporary motivation, but to lasting transformation. To the kind of confidence that doesn't shake in the storm, because it's built from the inside out. So now the question is, will you live these lessons, or just listen to them? Because the Stoics didn't just talk about life. They lived it, with clarity, with courage, with deep, unshakable confidence. And now, it's your turn.